Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me for another Outer Limits review. Today I will be talking about Season 1, Episode 15, The Mice, directed by Alan Crosland Jr., and starring Henry Silva, Diana Sands, and Michael Higgins. And The Mice is a below average episode, in my opinion. There's actually some good ideas in this episode, but I don't think they're executed very well. The episode just isn't really that satisfying and doesn't really come together that well in the end, in my opinion. But it is a watchable episode. I've seen worse. So we start with a man, a doctor named Dr. Callender, Dr. Kelly for short, and he's in a prison looking for an inmate to volunteer for an experiment in teleportation, which sounds pretty scary in some ways. It turns out that this person, if they agree to this, will be going to another planet. So we're introduced to a man named Chino Rivera who decides he's going to volunteer for this. That's our setup for the episode, which I thought was interesting enough. So we're then given a brief intro into some other characters. One is a Dr. Julie Harrison, and she's talking to another man, Dr. Richardson. And at this point, we also get a chat between Dr. Kelly and Chino, and it's okay. It gives us a little more insight into Chino's character and how he thinks about the world. So at this point, we learn that Dr. Kelly and some of the others are trying to communicate with another society, and this is basically like an exchange program. Chino will go to their planet, and someone from this other planet, I think that they're called Chromos, I believe, will be coming to Earth. So that's basically how this works. So the doctor explains the procedure more to a group of people. This is pretty much unnecessary exposition, but I guess it was okay. It lags a little bit here. So at this point, the creature eventually does come to Earth. The teleportation works somehow, and as far as the creature design in this episode goes, the less said about it, the better. In my opinion, it's silly and isn't really effective at all. But it's 1960s TV, so I give it the benefit of the doubt a little bit. So at this point, the creature goes crazy and distracts everyone. It seems to be wild and out of control. So Chino uses this as an opportunity to escape, but this basically fails. He basically gets like he tries to go out the window and gets like electrocuted or something, I'm guessing. So at this point, Chino and Dr. Julie talk, and you can see where they would relate to each other a little bit. Also, we get an explanation at this point of what the chromites need to eat and what they need to do to survive. We also then get a brief conversation between Dr. Kelly and Chino. This is basically just more setup. Some of this is interesting, but it does feel like the episode needs to get going a little bit more at this point, at least in my opinion. So things do pick up a little bit from here. The doctors are talking, Richardson and Kelly, and the creature's listening in conveniently, of course. Or else the next plot points couldn't take place. It turns out that Richardson's talking about ways to kill the creature. The creature hears this, it isn't happy. It eventually attacks Dr. Richardson when he's off on his own and he's now a goner. At this point, Chino tries to escape again. This time he actually does momentarily escape, but when he's caught, of course, he's right near the dead body of Richardson. So at this point, Dr. Kelly and Dr. Julie are talking. Dr. Julie believes Chino's story that he's not guilty of this. You can tell Dr. Kelly's not really sure what to believe. Then we get a little bit more of Chino's backstory. We find out that he did kill a man before. That's why he's in prison. But he says it was because the man hurt his sister. He's also now very reluctant to go through with the experiment. And I would say this makes sense based on everything that's happened so far. So at this point, Dr. Julie goes for a walk to think things over. She sees the creature and makes a run for it naturally, but she makes it back okay. Nothing really comes out of this. I guess they needed to put more time in the episode. So at the same time, Chino's transport basically fails. I'm not really sure why. He kind of passes out or something, but he turns out to be okay as well. It also turns out that all communications with the other civilization have now been lost. So the doctors are figuring out there must be more to all this. In the meantime, the creature is still on the loose, attacking people, killing people. These are some pretty unconvincing scenes and not directed that well, in my opinion, but they're also strangely kind of entertaining, so I guess it was okay. The creature also puts a man in the transport machine, which was interesting, I guess is a good word to use for it. So eventually the creature and Chino fight. Of course, Chino wins. Somehow he gets a gun and shoots the creature, but he doesn't kill the creature. So Dr. Kelly and some of the others finally break through and get in. They then get a transmission from Chromo explaining things. It turns out the creature was actually a scientist and just looking for a way for their civilization to survive, for the Chromos to feed themselves. And Dr. Kelly ends things off by telling them all they needed to do was ask for help. So, like I said, kind of some interesting ideas in this episode, but the episode is kind of all over the place, in my opinion. Nothing really totally comes together. The ending is okay, but also not that satisfying, in my opinion. Although, like I said, it is a bit thought-provoking in places. So overall, I'm going to give The Mice a 2 out of 5. This is definitely an episode you don't need to watch unless you're watching every single episode. Although I will say hardcore fans of The Outer Limits might enjoy it at least once. So 2 out of 5 for The Mice. And as always, thank you very much for watching.